So, Sam, how the hell have you been? What's been going on for the past couple of months?
Yeah, I've been good. Obviously everything's been a bit crazy, but I feel lucky. I'm still healthy. My family's healthy. So it's been a bit crazy. My life went from a fast paced life to never being in the same kind of space at once to now staying in London and just chilling out. But yeah, I've been lucky. I feel lucky that I've been able to stay healthy and stay fit and all those things.
So, Keen, you were splashing around in the sea the other day, practicing your backflips to impress Sam with, weren't you?
That's why I was late, to be honest. I was just practicing in the back garden.
It must be weird though, Sam. Obviously, like you've not been able to celebrate a goal or like that in such a while. Weird time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I miss most is that whether it's me scoring or someone else, it's that raw emotion after a goal or after a win. I think that's what most footballers are missing, and especially, watching the Premier League and things like that return. It's just not the same without the fans. So I think, that's the biggest thing for us is we've kind of realised how important the fans are to football. But yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'll say that there's been a few celebrations at training. We've been taking it quite seriously because we haven't competed in however many months. So for us, playing now, even training games, has been really, really competitive.
What was you doing with your time in London? Obviously, moving over here was such a big thing, and then for football to be taken away, what was filling your time during the past couple of months?
Yeah, well, I thought I just wanted some time to myself and time to relax. And then once I got it, I actually hated it. I love being a fast-paced kind of life girl, but I did nothing. Honestly, I was trying to train, but the fields here were still kind of crappy from the winter. So I was running a lot. Honestly, I did nothing. Like I was stuck in an apartment and watched a lot of documentaries and caught up on a lot of missed sport, but obviously they were all replays because there was no live sport, but just kind of relaxed and yeah, nothing really like everyone else.
Are you done with it now in terms of looking back and looking back at the last 4 months, talking about that kind of reflection now? Are you very much shifting the headspace to look forward and a positive, brighter future?
Oh yeah, I think everyone's kind of everything crossed that it can stay this way, but yeah, I'm absolutely loving being here in London. Obviously that was obviously disappointing to kind of end the season that way when I just kind of got to Chelsea, but yeah, it's great to be here. I think this is going to be the best thing for me, and I think the only positive out of COVID, the situation, obviously there wasn't many, but is that I had time to really settle in and call this place home. I've spent a lot of time here now, so now coming into the new season, I feel very comfortable here and feel like this is my home now.
Must be good to get back into training though, right? What's the mood in camp at the minute?
Yeah, like I said, it's amazing. We've had a lot of fun. It's been competitive. It's been really, really hard. I think the weather's added to that too. But yeah, it's been really good. I think I've loved it. I think we've got a few girls back from injury. It's been really good to play with Fran Kirby. And just to be back on the field competing is the thing I miss the most. I've been absolutely loving it. And yeah, it's crazy how much I missed it.
I mean, what about London then and the prospect of, like you say, being settled and looking forward to kind of like life in London? What kind of most excited you and excites you still about living in a city like that?
Oh, I mean, I guess London kind of speaks for itself, but for me, it's always been a kind of a destination where Aussies always stop over at. There's so many Aussies around London, and I absolutely love that. I tried to live as close to the city as I could because although I'm playing football, I do like to have a bit of a social life. So I'm just excited for everything. Like I love the fact I'm from Perth in Australia, so it's a small town, not a small town, a small city. most things shut at 5, and on the weekends certain shops aren't open. But here it's like you're going to London anytime and it's buzzing, and I absolutely love that. And there's always something going on, so many different types of sports. And the main draw card for me was how big the city is, how much life there is to it, and that there's 1,000 Aussies everywhere you look.
Was that a main draw? Obviously, apart from playing for a huge club at Chelsea, was that a main draw for you then, coming to a place that was 24/7, had a load of Aussies living there already, just a busy, vibrant city?
Yeah, I think so. I think obviously Chelsea Football Club kind of speaks for itself. I looked at the squad. The squad was pretty deep. I really liked Emma as a coach, but it's really important for me as a footballer to be happy outside of football. And I know some footballers aren't like that. They like to kind of just be in a little bubble and football. But for me, I need my time away from football. And I have lots of friends in London. I have some family in London. So for me, that was, it was a huge draw card.
Yeah, I think people probably underestimate just that level of comfort that you need just to be able to perform on the pitch a lot. We spoke to a player, DeAndre Yedlin, a little while back about he likes to visit escape rooms in every city that he visits in the UK. And he was talking about like taking trips to York to learn about the Vikings because of a TV show that he watched. Again, like you're saying, it's nice when players show that kind of like personality and little things that they do in their free time to kind of enjoy life. Is there any place, like, do you want to explore the UK as well as London in that respect?
Like I was saying to you before, I've been down to Bristol, and there is places I want to go, but I think the coolest part for me being in London is it's such a hub. So like you have 2 days off, 3 days off, you can just jet off to Spain or Italy. And that was really exciting for me. Being from Australia, whenever we come to Europe, it's like you come for 8-9 weeks and you take time off work and, you do it all in one. But for me now, being so close, it's like, I can just go here for the weekend, go there for the weekend. And obviously, I feel a little bit spoiled at the moment because I keep saying to girls, this isn't real life. The weather's amazing. But in the winter time, I did struggle. But I think that's the cool thing is that there's so many places to go. You can go down to Scotland. You can do all those types of things. And that's only by, you can get there by car or train. So to me, that's really unique because in Australia everywhere's a flight.
Yeah, that is wicked.
You briefly mentioned it earlier, Sam, but can you elaborate on having that one side of you that's football and that professional side of you, but then also is it important to have that other side of you that isn't necessarily on the pitch and thinking about football all the time for, I suppose, that balance, that mental health balance?
Oh yeah, I think 100%. That's a really, really important part for me. And I think as athletes, you have to be really careful with how you, I guess, portray that because, what it's like, people can take things wrong. If you're seen out or having dinner or something, it can be seen as not being a professional. But at the end of the day, we're human. And for me, that's a really important part. I think when you've had a good game, when you've had a bad game, it's nice to go and reflect with friends and kind of enjoy the experiences that you have. So for me, it is really important. And some people aren't like that, and that's totally fine. But I think it should be also fine for people that need their time outside of football. And while I'm at the training ground, it's, full on. It's meetings, rehab, all those types of things. But then once I leave, I like to kind of leave your job there. And as footballers, I think that's something that is really difficult to do because if you have a bad training session or a bad game, you can't help but bring it home. And that's really difficult. Or you see someone out or you jump on Instagram and someone said something. It is difficult to leave work at work and enjoy your time at home. So that's why for me, I like to catch up with friends, go experience things that, as a footballer, I've worked really hard to be where I am. So I should be able to do those things too.
Yeah. I mean, like one thing that's kind of goes unnoticed a little bit of like players like yourself, that are like in the past bouncing from sort of like America to Australia and then continuously playing. So many of the female players that we've spoken to have said like this has been like the first time in 15 years that they've stopped. Like, do you get sort of like you mentioned it already that you get kind of like itchy feet when things slow down, but do you think that's kind of because you're just like constantly busy?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me personally, I've gone from the W League to the NWSL for 9 years now, I think it is. And that's one of the main reasons I came to the UK, because there's always a designated off season. But I honestly thought I would enjoy it more having time to myself. But once football and all the things that come with it got taken away from me, I kind of realised how lucky I am to do something I love, and it be so hectic. Like, I don't really think I'll ever be able to go to just having one thing going on in my life, you know, whether it's training with Chelsea, international football. You know, when I was here the first few months, I had like 3 weeks home, 10 days away, and it's amazing. We get to fly around the world, meet all these crazy people, play some games in like countries I've never been to or seen. And I think when you're in it, you're like, oh, I just want 3 days, 4 days by myself. And then once I got 10 weeks, I was like, oh, I hate this. It sucks.
How like sentimental are you in terms of like keeping track of all those kind of moments? Because when we spoke to Caitlin Ford a little while ago, she was telling us about that kind of like diary that she keeps of all those kind of like milestones and stuff like that, and said that you had one too.
Yeah, we bought one back in 2011. Yeah, I have one of those too. Mine sometimes I write in it a lot, other times I don't write in it. I probably haven't written in it in 2 years probably, but I still have it, and it's really nice to look back on. But I think that's the cool thing about Instagram at the moment, is that I always scroll down my feed and look at things, or see how I've changed, or what I used to like, what I used to comment on, like just those things. And I think, you know, back in the day, you used to take cameras around and never get the photos you know, developed or whatever it was, or you have them on these little cameras, and I've never done anything with them. So that's why I love Instagram. Whenever I have something cool happen in my life, it goes straight on Instagram, and it's like a memory for me. But yeah, I don't collect anything or things like that. I know a lot of girls on our team keep all the passes that we get from the World Cups and all that, but I'm not very good at keeping things. So
what's it like having fellow Aussies in the league, like fellow countrywomen?
Yeah, I think it is good. I think it's really nice. We've met up a few times and caught up, and it's nice to just see a familiar face. And because we're all quite new to the teams, we've just been helping each other out with settling into, I guess, English lifestyle. There's been a lot of things that need to be done, bank accounts, all those annoying little things you don't think of when you move house. But yeah, it's going to be fun too when we play each other. I know me and Kate played against each other in the Conti Cup final. But yeah, it was honestly great to play against her, and I think all the girls have done really well to get over here. I think this league honestly is going upwards, whereas a lot of other leagues seem to be losing top players. So it's really exciting, nice, and obviously everything going on in the world with COVID right now, I don't think we'll be able to head home for Christmas, so it's going to be nice to have them around, and we'll probably be spending Christmas in London together, which will be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that is another positive, isn't it, to take out of this, in the way that while people are sort of like, you know, torn apart, at the same time so many people are brought together. There's, again, it's not the nicest thing to unify people, but it is nice that, you know, at least people can be on the level and know what each other's going through. I mean, like footballers as an example, people, you know, from the outside look at footballers and think, you know, that their lives and the glamour and everything that must come with it. But at the end of the day, everyone's struggling with the same battle of being like stuck indoors and limited in what they can do.
Yeah, I think it's the uncertainty that everyone's dealing with. And I think everyone, no matter what your job is, everyone's uncertain on what's next, and that's what's really difficult for me. I normally have my life planned out day to day. Whereas at the moment, it's like you have plans, but you don't know if they're going to happen or not. It's like just all up in the air, I guess.
Is Helen the cat still with you though? Is she experiencing UK life?
Yeah, she's on the bed right now listening to us chat. She's like, you want another one of these freaking Zoom calls? Honestly, like, people laugh because I'm not a cat person. I want to set the record straight. I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person through and through. But I fostered this cat in Chicago and I couldn't take her back. So I was like, whatever, $25 to get her here, to buy it. And then I was like, frick, this cat's costing me thousands of dollars to fly her to London. But she's honestly been my saving grace. I've never been a cat person, but she's just the best companion coming home from training, through the quarantine. Like, if I didn't have a pet, I don't know what I would have done. And it's just nice to come home to someone. She doesn't talk, but I feel like she talks. Like, she meows at me sometimes. I feel like we're connected, she knows what I want and I know what she wants. She's famous too. Like, no one forgets Helen's name. Like, as used to tell someone I have a cat called Helen, they know.
I love it. Bring back more like Bob the dog and
yeah.
It must be nice though, having that one present figure just constantly, no matter what country you're in or what club you play for. That cat's she's always going to be there with you.
Yeah, for sure. It might cost me thousands of dollars, but
it's worth it.
She costs $25 to buy, thousands of dollars to fly around the world. But no, it's been so worth it. Yeah, like, the girls always laugh at me because I'm obsessed with her, but at the end of the day, I thought she's a baby. Like, I don't have anything else to take care of over here. It's just me and her, and Bonnie and Clyde type style. Yeah, I love her.
Should we talk about football a little bit?
Yeah.
Is that what we're here for?
I mean, it's still early days, but I wonder, like, with the WSL and your experiences of it so far, like, is it too early to kind of make an assessment, or have you got sort of like first impressions?
Yeah, I don't think it's too early. I think for me, I could tell the differences straight away, kind of as I came into training. I would say, like, it was a little bit of a shock. Like, it's just so different. Like, the reason I came to London is exactly the reason, I guess. Yeah, I came to London because I know in my game I'm not good at certain things, and I'm much better at certain things. And I think the USA totally suited my style of play. I can transition every day of the week for as long as I want. Like, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at those, transition moments. And I think from the first day here, I realised that that's not the type of football that it is here. It's much more, I don't want to say controlled, because it is still controlled in the US, but I think it's just, more controlled in a way, and there's less transition moments. Not to say there isn't, but it's more build-up play, slowly towards the box. And I think here, I don't know, I was saying this to the girls, they think it's funny, but in America, everyone's friends with each other. If you don't get along with someone on the field, it's like, I don't like her. And someone's like, oh, she's my friend. I played with her at college, or we went to high school together. And I'm like, okay, I don't know her, but, and here, the girls are like, they go through each other here, and it's like such rivalries. And I think that's because it's a footballing country here. So, like, if you play for Arsenal, you do not get along with Chelsea. And if you play for top, you know what I mean? It's like that. It's like deep. It's not just like, oh, you're playing a team. And like, I noticed here, like, well, my first tackle here, I got absolutely poleaxed. And like, I was like, oh, okay, like, this is cool. This is how it's going to be. Like, then the next day at training, studs down my shin straight away. I'm like, this is fine. Like,
I'm okay. I'm all right. Don't worry. I'm all right. Yeah,
I only needed one eye.
And then actually a few of the other strikers came up to me and they were like, look, we just want to tell you, like, when you're playing against these certain players, watch your ankles, watch your shins, like, just get the ball and get rid of it.
Wow.
But I've got used to it now, and I'm honestly still trying to get better at it. I honestly, my hold-up play and all those is challenging for me, but I'm getting there slowly. And I think the players here are starting to know who I am as a player. But look, I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this because I came to this league, but this league is just going like on an upwards kind of direction, and I'm seeing things happen around the world, not just in the USA, the German league, those types of things. Like they're kind of losing a lot of top players, and they seem to all be coming here. So I really think in a few years' time, this will be the top league in the world.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's all good things happening, from like level of investment to playing in bigger stadiums and that sort of thing. Which of the sides of it, in terms of the tough tackling or everyone being mates, do you prefer?
Look, I'm a competitive person, so I like the kind of the tough tackles, everyone getting in on each other. But like I said, it's not just within the league; it's within our team. So it's fun. It makes it more competitive, and I love when there's a big tackle, because then it means you can give one back. And like, I'm not a tackler, let me tell you that. I just like to. I did a slide tackle yesterday for the first time in my career and have a burn on my leg. Like Millie Bright, freaking hell, man. She's one of my better friends in the team, but she comes after me with the ball. It's 2-touch max, otherwise I'm over the sideline. That's just how Millie is. And then her partner in crime across the freaking park, Magda, they both go after us forwards. I feel like we've got scars and cuts everywhere from our own teammates, but I enjoy it. I think it's good, and I think if you're too nice, then the game just becomes dead. It makes feeling in the team and in the games.
Do you think it was a conscious decision to come over to the English League to improve certain aspects of your game then?
Oh, 100%. Like, I could have stayed in the USA forever and just been comfortable and just, I was scoring goals, I was playing well. But I know that there's a different side to my game that I need to improve and I need to get better at. And like I said, the transition moments, they're my bread and butter, but I'm not so good in the build-up play and all that type of thing. And I think I wouldn't say I'm not so good. I think I'm just getting better, and that's where I want to improve. And I think here, playing for Chelsea especially, we normally dominate possession, which obviously makes for less transition moments when your team's dominating and the teams are sitting in a low block. And it's just getting me thinking, little details that I've never really had to take much time on. It's just a whole new challenge. It's just a new experience, because even in the national team, we like to play possession-based football, but there's also that huge transition dynamic in our team. So I'm really enjoying it, to be honest.
Off the pitch as well, with that in mind, in terms of developing who you are as well, do you feel that side of it as well? Like it makes you a more rounded person the more travelling that you do, almost?
Yeah, I think so. I think... I also think like no one comes into a new team and is fully comfortable. So it challenges you as a person, and it definitely has here. I came here in December. Mate, it was that cold. I've never experienced like being that cold in my life. And then I got sick, and then I got injured, and it was all on my own. I didn't really have I didn't not have any friends in the team, but I wasn't comfortable enough to lean on my teammates and all that yet. But yeah, it definitely challenges you moving around the world. But I would say I'm used to being comfortable. So this is new for me, being really uncomfortable. Even though I've changed teams in the US a lot, I feel like I had a name for myself in the USA where I could come somewhere and people would automatically welcome me in. Whereas here, I didn't know. I didn't know if the girls not knew who I was, but I didn't know if they knew what type of player I was or whatnot. So it was a challenge, but I feel like I've fit in now, and I'm enjoying it.
I was going to say you've accomplished so much, mate, already, but does Chelsea sort of act as a new gate to accomplish more, like to set new milestones and achieve different things?
Yeah, for sure. I think the thing that's really been missing from my career is trophies. And I think that's why I wanted to come to Chelsea, is because I could see that, coming here, I've now realised that's exactly what I thought of the team is exactly what it is. The team we've got no superstars in our team. I mean, we've got superstars everywhere you look, but everyone is for the team. And that's something that I'm really big on. I wanted to be in a team that didn't have it all, but wanted to work to having it all. And I think that's what we're building here, is like every day it's about the team and what the team can achieve, not about what, this player can do or what this player has. And I think that's the really cool thing, is that we're not just talking about winning the league or winning this. We're talking about, at the moment, winning 6 trophies. I think we can win this year with Champions League and all that. So we've got high expectations of this team. And for me, I'm sick of winning MVP of the league and losing in the final. I'm sick of that. I would rather be the worst player on the field and win the freaking title. That's how I feel, and that's what was missing for me. So I feel like Chelsea can open so many doors for me and so many experiences, but hopefully I can also add to what they are already as a team.
Yeah, so that's a wicked mindset to have. It's funny, like going back to sort of like joining Chelsea and what you mentioned about feeling out of your comfort zone a little bit, in the way that we all see footballers signing for a new club as like such an exciting, massive thing. No doubt it was, but it's also a bit like first day of school nerves.
Oh, yeah, like no other. I was really nervous, and everyone's like, why are you nervous? Like, you're going to go there and be fine. It's just daunting. I think coming to a new team as a young player is scary because, you're young, look up to people, but then also coming at the other end of the spectrum where you've kind of played international football, it's like, which one's worse? It's like, do you come with no expectations and just be like the kid that surprises everyone, or do you go with all the expectations and then it's like all that pressure? But what I found out pretty quickly here is that like no one really cares about those things, and that's how I feel. Like I just want to be a part of the team and be someone else on the team, and that's happened here instantly. And that's what I love about the team, is like I said, we have no real superstars. It's everyone is who they are and everyone's accepted for who they are, and we come together really well as a team. And I was definitely really, really nervous coming here, but all the girls were like, you weren't nervous, you opened up after 2 hours. And I was like, no, inside I was very nervous.
What milestones do you want to achieve, and sort of, when we get back up and running again? Are there any short-term goals personal goals that you want to achieve?
Oh, look, I think I'd like to get back to my scoring ways. I think the first few games I was here, I think I scored 1 goal in however many games, but for me, I wasn't really that confident and wasn't playing to the best of my ability. So for me, short term is just like get back into my kind of way of playing. I felt like when I first got here, I was trying to play how other people kind of thought I would play or wanted me to play. But that's obviously a personal goal. But I think going forward as a team, like we're the team to beat this year. So it's going to be tough, and there's going to be so many different games, different FA Cup, Conti Cup, Champions League, the league. So for me, it's just going to be about every weekend. It's not looking too far ahead. And I know it's easy to get distracted and kind of look forward to all the things we have coming up. But like my focus right now is just that first league game. And as we've seen last year with this team, that you can drop points to anyone. They dropped points to Liverpool just before I came, and then we go out and we beat Arsenal the way we did, and then we have a crazy game with City. So I think every game in this league really, really matters, and that's the cool thing about it.
Those players have all done like so much that are in the Chelsea squad that you're in with. You know, even mentioned the chance to play with Fran Kirby again, and you know what a name she is to England and like the Lionesses. It's an amazing trait to have. But do you look at like who you surround yourself with? Is it important for you to be around people who, you know, talk on the level and don't have big egos and that sort of thing?
Oh, 1000%. Like I could never play or want to play for someone that thinks they're bigger than the team. And I will say, like, I think it's a really cool thing about women's football is that there's not many players like that in women's football. And I know in the men's game a bit different because that's just how the men's game is. But I honestly believe like the best thing about our team is that everyone here, like don't get me wrong, there's massive personalities, and there's things that people are better at and people do better or worse or whatever, but we all kind of come together. And I think I'm probably one of the biggest personalities in the team, but I wouldn't say it's an ego thing. I'm like the class clown. All the girls think I'm an idiot and think I'm, hilarious. But then you have someone like, well, I'm hoping they think I'm hilarious. But, but then you have like someone like Beth, who I played with when I first got here, who is like the sweetest person in the world. Absolutely love her. But she's a little bit more serious and, I think she's more demanding than me, but that's just who she is, and it kind of rolls and it all comes together. But look, I honestly, I felt rude when I came here because I didn't know a lot of the girls' names here, and I think that's the problem with women's football is that there is so many gun players in our team, like so many players that I'm just like, how did I not know who you were before I came to Chelsea? And that's like been a really massive eye-opener for me, is that there's so many players here that I feel rude saying it, but I never knew who they were. And now I'm like, you're like the best player here. And it's like, how did obviously like I knew Fran, I knew Millie, I knew those girls, but I even like knew of Erin Cuthbert, but like had never really watched her play. But like, those girls have just like surprised me so much. They're unbelievable. And I think that's the crappy thing about women's football is if someone like Erin Cuthbert or Bethany England was doing what they're doing in leagues around the world, everyone would know about them and they'd have like a $70 million price tag on top of their head. And everyone would be hunting them. But in women's football, it's just kind of, things can get swept under the rug, I guess.
Yeah, it's mental as well. We think Beth England, and I mean, so many incredible, inspiring stories along the way. She's got a law degree, I think. She's like...
Yeah, she's
incredible outside of being an elite athlete.
Yeah.
Something like that as well.
Yeah, I don't know how she does it. There's a few girls that study in our team, but look... Kudos to them, but it's not for me. I don't have the patience to sit at a meeting, let alone do a law degree, but good for them. But no, yeah, they're all amazing, like on what they do off the field. I honestly couldn't speak higher of the girls in our team. They all bring something to the. It's really cool to be a part of.
Nice.
In your mind, how do we tackle that sort of problem of exposure for the women's game? I know obviously the past few years have been incredible for the sport, but like you said, the trajectory, it just has to keep on going up and up. But how, in your mind, what do you see next for the game?
Yeah, I think it just needs to like continue, and like you said, it's really just exposure. Like it's getting all the games on TV. Like everything you see, you don't want to have to sign up and get a login and go into this blog and all that. It's like it should be on TV, because this is where people sitting at home, they turn on the TV and they see freaking Chelsea running around and Beth scoring bangers at Stamford Bridge. It's like, oh, I actually like that. I could see myself watching that, instead of like having to sign up to some blog to watch a women's game streamed on YouTube. It's
yeah.
For me, it's just like getting it into the mainstream media, because the product is there, the quality is there. It's just about getting it over the line. Like the Women's World Cup, like people just turned it on because it's on and like you watch it. Like I watched the K-League in quarantine because it was on. It was the only football on, but I'll never watch K-League again, but because it was on.
God bless you.
So yeah, it's just exposure.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like if you turn on Sky Sports or whatever, the amount of things that are shown from like 4 or 5 years ago from the Premier League, and you're like, do you really care about that? Like you'd much rather watch live sport from now that's actually exciting and it's current, rather than watching reruns of shit that you just don't, you don't really care about.
Yeah, unless you're playing and you scored and played really well, and you.
Not talking about you, mate.
I mean, to that point, when you think of like things, amazing things, like that have gone back, like to you saying that, then just reminded me about the like that whole like mural of you that was put on the Sydney Opera House. Like that's a mental sort of like visual representation of how far you've come, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such an iconic building around the world, not just in Australia. So for myself and others to be put on that was just like, yeah, it was one of those moments that was like, wow, like I could have never imagined women's football or myself would be doing these types of things. And, you know, like people that, I have friends that don't even watch football, that don't even know football. They sent me that photo and were like, this is wicked. Like that's so dope. You're on the Sydney Opera House. And I was like, yeah, it is pretty amazing. And like, I think for me, that just shows like, especially in Australia, not just women's football, like women's sport now has got such a place in mainstream media. And I think that's really, really cool that there's female athletes that are able to hold their own, even when there's so much more men's coverage. And people want to see it. Like people are asking like, oh, why isn't this game on the TV? Or why isn't this? And I'm like, you're asking the wrong person. Like I just play. Like if it was up to me, I'd just put everything on TV. Like I see, even here, like why aren't the games on TV? Like they should be. That we play at a time that doesn't clash with the men. So just put it on the TV. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, so much is about representation.
Yeah, I've got a mate out in Sydney who works out and lives out in Sydney, and he texts me all the time. He's like, all of the English, obviously it's a TV right still, but he's baffled that when he's watching English football at 3 p.m. on a Saturday or whatever it is, every single English game is on TV and he can watch whatever he wants. But here you feel so locked down, and you feel so like, I don't know, frustrated in the sense that you can't access your own teams. It's like me and Pete both support championship teams, Forest and Bristol City, and we can't, you know, it's very difficult to watch your team unless you're in that city and you go to the game. It's impossible to get access and to support it from afar. It's a massive problem, and even more so in the women's game.
Yeah, and I found that really interesting when I came here. That like that's what I was so excited for. Like, oh, coming to London, there's just going to be football on the TV all the time, and like on Saturdays there's like no games. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean there's no games? And they're like, oh, it's like I don't know. The girls were saying like to get people to go out to the games, and I'm like, but what if you physically cannot do that?
Yeah.
Like, that's not always the case. Like, there should be some alternative to, you know, in Australia, when the AFL's on, it's like press the red button and you can like choose what game you want. And it's like all there. Like, surely they have enough technology in this world to do that.
Mental. Just on, just going back to Australia and a bit of international pride, do you see the next generation of Matildas coming through and sort of the young female generation coming through playing football?
I think, I don't know how to say it, but I think then we've missed the boat a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap. I don't know what really happened, whether it was too much investment in the full team or not enough investment in the youth, but I think there's going to be a bit of a gap. I think we kind of didn't really take grassroots and development that seriously. And I think because we've had like a decent national team, we've kind of forgotten about those things. There's so much participation in Australia that hopefully it keeps building, but at the moment, like there's not really many people coming through at the moment. And I honestly think it's a little bit like that around the world. Like obviously we have like Ellie Carpenter. I keep forgetting she's only 20 years old. She's at Lyon. Like she's absolutely killing it in international football. But I think going forward, I think there's going to be a little bit of a gap. So with the national team now, I think we really have to make the most of this team we have for the next 8 years, hopefully 10 years. But yeah, I think hopefully now they've realised that taking funding away from things like development actually affects the national team, whereas I don't think they really realise that.
One thing that I was really super interested in when I spent time with Ellie and Caitlin out in Portland, one thing I just didn't know was that transition back and forward, constant back and forward between Australian League and the American League. And you just mentioned it earlier that you spent 9 years doing that, and that's on one hand it's to play as much football as you can, but on the other hand, it's the more negative side of it is a lot of players are doing that purely for financial reasons, right? Is to keep supporting yourself from a financial level. And for me, it's super interesting, and then obviously ridiculously insane that you have to go those lengths to stay financially supported.
Yeah, I think that was every female footballer for however, like probably still now. And I always get like, not angry, I guess, but I look at things and I'm like, oh God, like imagine like like Ellie, for instance, she went to Lyon, she's 20 years old. Like, what is the 20-year-old being sold to? Well, what's the best team in the world for the men's game? Let's just go with Man United. I don't know, like Sancho, right? He's going there. What's he getting sold for? Like, that is Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
And like that to me is like so infuriating, because it's like Ellie's like the next up and coming player for us. Or like even Davies at Bayern Munich, he went for like a small fee now, but like that fee is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And look what he's become. And I'm sure that's going to be someone like Ellie. And then I feel really lucky because I have, I guess, established myself as a footballer where I am really lucky in a financial situation, but like I like have so much respect for my teammates that do that still. And it's like an injury is ultimately like your livelihood. And like people don't understand that. Like in the men's game, you have an injury and it's like, oh yeah, we just go to the club and it's like you like have a contract only up until that year in the women's game. And then that's your livelihood, or you miss international payments, and that's, so it is very stressful. And I think it takes like a lot of courage for girls to stick in it for long when they're not in a national team or not, consistently playing for the national team. It's scary, and I don't know how a lot of girls do it, but I guess you just do it for the love of the game.
People just make assumptions, oh, you're a professional player, that must mean your life is perfect.
Yeah, and I think, we're not sitting here and complaining. I've never heard anyone sit here and complain, because we're also so lucky. We still get to be professional athletes. We still get to live these amazing lives. Like I drive into Cobham and every day I'm just like, where am I? Like every day I drive in, like I just literally you have to pinch yourself that you're like, this is a dream life. Like we literally live, like anyone would swap places with us for a day and just be like, wow, you guys live the best lives. And my friends at home always say, wow, you live such great lives. And I'm like, take it for granted, like sometimes when it's just your life. But we're so lucky, and I'm so grateful that women's football is where it is now, and we've done so much work to get it here. But there's still, there's always room for improvement, especially in the women's game.
Just to wrap it up, mate, as mentioned earlier for the female game, it's been an incredible few years, and there's been so many incredible, inspiring, powerful women that have voiced, everything about the game and taken it in a more positive way. What would you say your mission is, or the female game's mission? What do you want to see over the next few years? Like, just to wrap it all up.
Yeah, I think for us, my mission is that I think I don't want to be seen as a female footballer. Like that's part of it, is I just want to be seen as a footballer. And like, I think there's still that gap where it's, I'm not going to watch females play football. It's like, well, have you ever come and watched a game? Because like, it's actually quality, So for me, it's about like, getting the exposure obviously much higher around the world, and just like opening people's eyes up to us being footballers rather than female athletes that are trying to play football. Like we do the exact same amount of work as the men and everything. I understand the game still has a long way to go on the female side, but it doesn't make us any less of a footballer or not. So for me, it's just about just being a footballer. I hate being treated like, oh, you're from the women's game, that's so cute. It's like, excuse me, like cute. That's like, Yeah, like I just want to be a footballer, and I think that's what every female footballer wants, is just to be a top level athlete and not have to worry about those things.
I love how open and honest you speak, Sam. It's such a pleasure to hear.
Oh, thanks,
mate. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and
yeah.
Hope you get back to normal soon and back to banging in the goals.
Yeah, you guys will have to come and do something at Chelsea. Honestly, there's so many sick players down there.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, there's so many sick players that just like aren't talked about at that club. That like I said, just like unbelievable players.
Yeah, I did before the game that was played at Stamford Bridge at the start of the season. I was down there for a day and just listening to. Interviewed 5 or 6 of the girls, and it was just so everyone just speaks so openly and honestly, and Keenan and I said it for ages, like so much better to work with like either female players, sorry to use that phrase, or like young players of any gender coming through, because there's just so much appetite to do stuff and to talk like human beings as well.
It's pretty cool, yeah. But for sure, get like a sweet photographer down. I'm envisioning I could work for Soccer Club.
Yeah, you can. Come on board.
We'll sign you up. We'll send you a contract, get you out of Chelsea, and you'll come work for us. Get you in
Once the column's open, we've got to get you guys down.
100%, mate. Well, listen, thanks again. And hopefully we'll catch you soon in London, and we'll.
Good to talk to you.
And we'll see you in London soon.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you later.